Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Train Simulator Classic TSC Railworks. I'm finally getting to it. I know there's better videos out there, there's better YouTubers, but those of you that do watch me, I'm finally getting to it. I've had this thing requested just about every single time I've done on one of DSGDDR's models, and I'm finally getting down to it. This is the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 2900 class 484s made by DSGDDR. In my opinion, one of the best locomotives he has done. Period. Like, yeah, that S1's cool, but this thing's awesome. I'm sorry. This thing is so stinking awesome. History-wise, these are relatively short-lived, thanks to World War II and then the diesel locomotive era kicking off shortly thereafter, but these locomotives were they were initially designed for high-speed passenger services. World War II was very much mid-swing, so these locomotives were regulated to both passenger and high-speed freight. And by high-speed, I mean these things can run. As built, they were regulated to 100 miles an hour, and then shortly after World War II, they were upgraded with Timken roller bearings, and the Santa Fe pushed them up to 110. I believe from the factory they were approved for 120. I don't know if one ever saw 120, but they were approved for 110 by the Santa Fe. So these locomotives can pick up and really run, which is wild to think about. So I have been next to one of the surviving locomotives, 2926, which is being restored to operation in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this thing is huge. This is a big locomotive. To imagine this thing flying along at 100 miles an hour is just wild. But they could do it. And they were built in between 1943 and 1944, if I believe. And were all retired by 1959. 1959. Some were starting to be retired by 1953. So these locomotives really only saw a 10 to 15 year service. Relatively short-lived. Not necessarily because there was anything bad. These were actually really well-built locomotives. They were fast. They were some of the heaviest 484s ever built. They were absolute powerhouses. They pulled some of the Santa Fe's famous trains like the Grand Canyon Limited, which we're in Flagstaff, Arizona. Couldn't resist that one. But the Chief, a couple others. But Diesels took over and stuffed these on the sideline. There are 6 preserved, one of which is obviously the 2926 being restored. Now, I am going to point this out. Some people are not going to... Some people it'll irk, some people it won't. These are not the same locomotive as the 3751, the locomotive that runs out in California. This is not the same... This is not the same class of locomotive. That is a different 484 class. Say what you will to that one. Take what you will, but you will get 2 different versions in your pack here. These are freeware, by the way. 100% free. 100% worth it. 100% worth checking out. These are freeware. There are 2. So you will get the kind of modernized version here. Boogie, boogie, boogie. And you will get an original version here, the kind of as-built. And then the tenders remain the same. Nothing, I believe, really changed on the tenders. Yeah, so the tenders, identical. But the locomotives, one of the most noticeable differences is, A, the modernized version got Timken roller bearings, as I said earlier. Boom. Which is a noticeable change. Boom. but also, and this is fun to kind of play around with, a smokestack lifter, smoke lifter. So this little doohickey, it is animated, it does fiddle around, and it will absolutely pop up, and it'll push the smoke up higher to clear the cab better. The as-built versions do not have those. So that's a nice little oddball, little doohickey to play with. One of my absolute favorite things about this model, and there are some others that are done this well. It's just not. It's one of those things that's not pointed out all that often, but curves. Look at how you can notice the curve. You know, all too often, even with some stuff that's pushed out today, stuff that's curved is square. I know it sounds weird to think about, but more often than not, if it's a weird gimmick that is hard to do perfectly on a computer, but like this. Matter of fact, this bell is perfect for it. But you can see, boom, squared, 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 straight, straight, straight. You squared off edges to make a round object. It's really hard to notice on this locomotive until you get way up close, which is awesome. All too often, rounded edges and such, even on paid DLC, is very noticeably square, and it drives me nuts. Beep beep. For those of you that bugs, no, I'm not editing that out. I do not edit my videos. I make them all in one go. These are honest reviews, and to be a really honest review, you can't edit it. You got to be outright forthcoming. Show it all. Show what you find. Show what you discover. Now, I've run this locomotive quite a bit. I love running this locomotive. It's definitely not my first look, but it is my first video on it. So now, overall, the locomotive is really nice. One of the very first things you will notice that is off, the smoke particles. I don't like them. I think there are far better smoke options. They're noticeably, I don't know, what would you call it? It looks like somebody went to a piece of paper, used some spray paint, squirted it on there, and then animated it to move, and then did it a few dozen times. Like, you can see the little circles, cotton balls. They look like cotton balls. So I don't like the smoke. The steam actually looks really good. I don't know if it's just because, you know, we got a very blue sky and the white steam kind of counters, I guess, the balls. But this is noticeably off. I don't like the smoke particles. I also will put this out there. Both locomotives use the exact same sounds, so I won't go flopping back and forth between them. Matter of fact, like I said, the biggest differences that you're going to notice is the smoke lifter, the Timken roller bearings, and the color. Other than that, there's really not a huge difference between these two locomotives. Thanks to their relatively short life, there's not a whole lot that could be done with them, or not a whole lot that was done to them to quote-unquote modernize them, so I won't be jumping between them too much, but just look at that. That is odd. The rope is kind of meh. The rope almost looks like it's supposed to be like kind of that white plasticky chain some of you stick your dogs on out in the backyard. Not a huge fan of the rope texture. But that's kind of one of the small details. That's one of those small things you pick out. I'm not trying to sound like I'm nitpicking, but whenever you get this well detailed, it's going to be the little things that kind of stand out, and that's one of those things that stand out along with the smoke. But On the flip side, little things that'll stand out, that'll make you kind of giggle, on the other hand, are things like this. So it's a great sounding whistle, but you guys see that? I love it. Now, is it something you're going to notice all that often? No. Not until you know it does it. Then you'll notice it. But that is awesome. The fact that that actually functions is awesome. Now, the steam particles from the whistle kind of do the same thing the smoke does. It's kind of noticeably, it looks like little cotton balls going up at Mach 5 and then disappearing. Not a big fan of those. But, again, it's not the most noticeable when you're on the road moving. But little details like that are just awesome to see. Now, of course, since we're already going over sounds, here's our bell. The bell sound is not bad. It does kind of have a noticeable echo in the background of the bell, but it's not bad. The bell is a steam operated bell, so it's got this little arm here that pushes the bell, which is animated. That's pretty cool. I don't think the rope really moves though. Yeah, this portion here moves. It is a noticeable thing if you're looking at it. This right here moving back and forth, and then the black spot here. Like I said, is it a big issue? No, not really. It's just whenever they're well detailed like this, it is dumb little things that you'll notice. You know, like this. I'm not a big fan of whatever that texture is. That looks like fish scales blurred out. And I know, it sounds nitpicky, but again, little things are more what you're going to end up noticing because this is such a big locomotive. It's extremely well detailed. There's a bunch of fine little details, and of course you're going to be paying attention to those fine little details. But another wild thing that's animated, our throttle here is actually animated. That is awesome. I love seeing that. That is cool. And then we'll hop down here, and this is animated. Our reverse gear. And it does have a nice sound to it. So that's pretty cool. That's fun to watch. Our lubricator gears are animated, which is fun to watch. It looks like a little propeller. It starts spinning whenever you get this thing up to speed. One of the best modeled things on this locomotive, the valves. I know it sounds like a dumb thing, but once you see this on this locomotive, you're gonna notice it on just about every other model made. These red valve handles are almost always squared off, 2D textures sometimes that are just wrong. They don't look right. That looks freaking awesome. That looks outright awesome. I love it. Dumb little details. I'm telling you guys, dumb little details. You get into stuff like this, you notice dumb little details. Not dumb per se, but just stuff like that. Now there's some kind of wonkiness going on right here. I don't know if that's a shadow effect or what, but drivers are really nicely done. I'm not a huge fan of whatever the kind of texturing going on right here is. Kind of looks a little wonky. I don't know if it's supposed to look like kind of aging, but not my favorite. It doesn't look terrible per se. It just kind of shows. Baldwin disc. That's cool. It's nice I can actually be able to read that. It does blur out when you get up close, but then again, it's actually pretty realistic. These are generally big old cast iron monstrosities. These are 80-inch drivers, but they're usually cast, so trying to cast words, they're usually not very fine. So it actually looks pretty realistic. Coloring is really, really nice. This right here is kind of wonky. Again, like I said, small details, you'll notice them. This almost looks like a little LED bar, the way it's colored in the middle here. So that's a little wonky, but whatever. Coloring overall is really nice. Builder's plaque. It's a 2D object, but it's not too bad. Kind of 2D, kind of 3D. The edge here is raised up a little bit. That's actually kind of cool. So our ring is a separate object than the plate. That looks pretty decent. Our number board here looks awesome. These number boards look absolutely awesome. Lettering, awesome. Nice, crispy, clean, even up close. I love that. Same for the cab lettering. Same for the tender lettering for the most part. Now the tender lettering, thanks to it, the Santa Fe itself, you zoom in, you kind of get the squiggly edges, which again, it's not really all that noticeable until you get up close. The numbers look great. Now the tender lettering, we're going to jump over here. It's the same exact tender. So tender lettering, plaque looks great, number looks great. The lettering up here is a little bit, you can just barely see the lines, but they're very like squiggly, which again, this is like nitpicking details. This is kind of something that would be a real pain in the rear, but it's not something you'll really notice unless you right here. And how often are you going to be right here? You're not. So not my favorite lettering, but You know what one of my favorite details though is, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Oh, look at it, look at it. 3D rivets. Now, some of you probably don't believe me. I say this all the time. 2D rivets are hideous. 2D rivets stick out like a sore thumb when you place it next to something like this, where all these rivets are individual actual 3D rivets. Is this time consuming? Absolutely. But once they're there, you notice when they're not on things that are supposed to have rivets. So that is awesome. I love that. Absolutely love that. Tender wheels, all sorts of bells, whistles, funkiness going on down here. That's, I don't know what does what. Hi. This all looks really nice. Brake shoes kind of have this weird little blurriness to them, but that's fine. Again, something you really won't notice all that often. Oh, we have a little number plaque here. That looks great. That looks awesome. I love it. All this craziness going on. I don't know what goes where, but oh, interesting. This part and this part like to disappear. Huh, that's weird. Does it do it over here? Boogity 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 boo. Yeah, so it does it on both locomotives. These two pieces like to disappear for some wonky reason when you look at the screen wrong. So let's dive into the cab. Not just about everything in here is fiddleable. We got our boiler water levels, windows and doors, which all translate outside. So can we get this one? No. This window, the sounds are nice. Thunk. It's nice that you don't hear that thunk too whenever you don't. There you go. That thunk. Side windows. These windows. These windows. These windows. Blink. These. And then, now I'm going to point this out real quick. These aren't levers. These are what open your sunroof. It threw me off for a hot second. They don't make any sound, which is kind of but, you know, not too terribly noticeable. Not something that I would say is worth crying over. All of that translates outside to exactly where you left it inside. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. So that's a nice one. That's a nice detail. Boy, even our tender deck is really well done. It is kind of odd, the weird fading going on. So the tender deck looks far more faded than the objects on top of it. So like our hatches here, all that looks laughably darker, which I don't know how true blue that is. I've never been on top of the deck of a 2900, so it is kind of one of those noticeable like color differences. Back inside. And like I said, just about everything's fiddleable. Look at this. Sea heaters. Little details like that. You notice them. I'm telling you, you notice them. It's weird, it's crazy, but you notice them. Does it do anything per, you know, your gameplay? Not really, but it is stinking cool. Bell, engine brake, emergency cock, train brake, first service, smokestack, isolating. We can get back there. The sea heater for the engineer. We don't get that one. Reverser, boiler drain, sander, blow down, driver injector. And we'll just start over here and work our way across. Cylinder cocks, boiler water levels. Of course, our throttle. HUD lighting, headlamps, headlights, cab light. Cab light looks pretty decent. It doesn't take a massive toll on my frames, which is nice. Maybe I lied. Let's see. What are we sitting at? Level out about 93, 40. Whoa, that's a fluctuation and a half. I don't know. Maybe my computer's just being wonky. Cab lights, hood lights. It's daylight bright, so you're not going to really notice it, but it does light up your gauges so you can see them. And of course, headlights, dim. You know what? We'll wait on that for a second because we have some other lights over here that we can fiddle with. Class lights, cab exterior. Tender lighting won't work since we're hooked up to a train right now, but exterior, we have a little, let's go here. Boom. Little bulb back here. You know, you can see everything going on back here. You can't really fiddle with anything on the tender. Nope. So we'll turn that light off. I like my frames. Tons of cab views. So you got head out the window, we got firemen, we got behind the fireman, center, driver, out the window on driver's side. So that's nice. Ejector, let's move our way over. More bells and whistles and buttons and squuttons. Cutoffs. Do I get it? I do. Reverse power. Dynamo. Cylinder cocks. Bypass. Turret. Cab heat. Cab heat, we won't need that. It's Arizona in summer. Cut off. So main water glass, compressor, steam heat. Water glass drain. Water glass drain, water glass, water level drain. We don't get those. A little peephole here. Firebox. Have a nice fire glow here. Makes a nice. I am kind of sad this doesn't make any noise. And this doesn't make any noise, but this does. It's not terribly loud, but it does make a little bit, which is, you know, noticeable. Anything in the center? Nope. Cool. Alright, fireman side. Have a floor vent here. Boiler drain. Blower. Sea heater. Sea heater. Huh. Another valve for the sea heating. Injector. Oil feed blowback. Fireman increase, decrease water. Atomizer. Fuel tank heater. Which should be open. Time to build our fire up while we're sitting here. So this little lever here, this is what will increase the flow of oil and build up your fire level here. These are our dampers. Fuel tank heater, oil blowback. Then of course our injectors. Injector has a nice sound to it. It's pretty typical for DSG sounds, but not bad. It's your water pump gauge. It does go up as you fire it up. It's fun to watch. Our steam heater pressure, tank level indicator. You know what? Let's go full blast. Let's get our fire built up. I believe that's about it. Texturing looks real nice inside the cab. I don't know about you, but I feel like our floor would be a little dirtier. And it is a photo texture, which kind of shows through with your separate objects like this. It kind of stands out. It's not too bad when you're zoomed out like this, but if you ever have to zoom in, you kind of notice that the floor is very much a photo texture. Yeah. Again, one of those little nitpicks. Not such an issue. So check our track. Be sure open. Cool beans. Oh, while we're sitting here. Smokestack. Oh, other way. Now, if I could remember the keybind for that, you can actually watch this go physically up and down. I don't remember what the keybind is. So, but it does raise it up. So that's cool. And the smoke emitter does go up with it. So that's fun to watch. I kind of caught it. That's fun to watch. It's cool. It's a fun little gimmick to fiddle with. Oh, do 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 do. What are we missing for our cylinder cocks? Bypass cylinder cocks. Dynamo. Okay, well, it worked with the C button. It didn't work when I opened them. Okay, that's weird. Oh well. Let's get rid of this. It doesn't have a running option. Right about there would be our... Boom. Let's take it on the road. I do believe you can spin the wheels. Yep. Doesn't create any sparks or anything, but you can absolutely spin the wheels, which is interesting. Our steam effects here for our cylinder cocks are alright. Chuff sounds are his typical chuff sounds, which I feel like they don't capture when you open the throttle on this locomotive. I mean, there's some big cylinders. This would be a very noticeable, loud boom, boom, boom. So I feel like it doesn't really capture that meatiness. How this thing would sound. Yeah, there's our oiler. That is a fun motion to watch. Let's go ahead and let it roll. Now we are starting off on a hill, so it'll take a second to pick up and go. That spoils back up. Our boiler water will go back up. Yeah. The chuff sounds are not my favorite. I feel like they're just not right. Not for this locomotive. Oh, I didn't point out the lighting either. Lighting is awesome. The lighting is awesome. Look at that. It's yellow-orange, which is what a headlight should be on a steam locomotive. I hate white neon LED headlights that are put on stuff today. It just does not look right. That looks awesome. Our marker lights look awesome. Our number boards are phenomenal. The number boards here, absolutely mint. That is really clean. Boy, we're having a real time struggling. I thought we kicked off our brakes. Maybe I am crazy. I didn't think these cars were that heavy. Ha! Oh well. They're supposed to be lightweight. Then again, supposed to be. Doesn't always play out. It's a real good sounding whistle. Honestly, it's got a nice blend to it. You don't really notice the blending of the files. Sounds really nice. Live steam injectors. Wonder if those sound any kind of funkiness. Yeah, live steam actually doesn't sound that bad. Sounds pretty neat. We're still climbing? Yeah, we're still climbing a hill. I think we'll be climbing a hill for the majority of our way out of Flagstaff. It's really nice sounding. Our sound does start to cut off pretty early. So let's see if we can hear a whistle down here at the end of the train. Yeah, you can hear a whistle a nice distance away. So that's nice. All too often the whistle, you can't hear it very far away, which is kind of frustrating. You should be able to hear this whistle a long ways away. That is just outright satisfying. Very satisfying. Very satisfying to watch all that. All of that. All in motion. It's just too dang cool. Let's go ahead and start bringing this thing to a stop. Since we're on a hill, it should be relatively quick. See our brakes start to grab on there. So that's pretty nice. Not too bad. Not too bad. Not too shabby. As our brakes weren't enough to actually stop us though. You know what? Oh, hey, we can just lock the wheels. That's nice. It's a nice little item. Now there is a bright setting to the headlight while I'm thinking about it and looking at it. I'm not a big fan of the bright though. This flare here doesn't float my boat all that much. Some people might like it. I think it's like looking through the lens of a camera. I'm not fond of it. Wrong button. I love the color again. The color is right and proper. You know, a nice yellow incandescent look. It's just I don't like the flare. Overall though, really nice locomotive. Our gauges look really nice. Really nice. But there it is, folks. DSGDDR's Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 2900 class 484 Northerns. These are freeware. These are awesome. If you don't have them, why not? How wrong could you be to not have these? Haha. But these are absolutely awesome, especially for the western routes, for anything Santa Fe. And then, of course, for excursions, hopefully relatively soon we'll start seeing one of these out on the open road. So for excursion scenarios and such, it's well worth having. You're going to want one. You should have one. As I 100% overflowed my boiler there like nobody's business. I 100% forgot about that. That's fine. But yeah, go check it out. It's 100% worth the look. It's an awesome locomotive. Not really too many things that I can point out to it that's odd or off. I mean, like I said, most of what I found were minor, like small things that I noticed. Absolutely nothing barring that. This is what I expect of payware today, to be perfectly honest. I expect these $20, $30 packs that we see coming out today. I expect stuff like this. This is one badass locomotive. That is just too cool. It is so well done. So do go check it out. As always, link in the description. Again, it's free. I don't know how many more times I gotta say that before you finally go over there and check it out. It's free. 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 You ain't gotta pay not one single penny for it. So go check it out. That is it for today, folks. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will see you guys next time.